This is Dead Space Remake. We're here on Xbox Series X. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So what are we getting here? There are two modes. Story-wise, I have picked something that is a couple hours in. You know, kind of a Chapter 3 scenario, a save I had created along the way while I was playing. So, there really shouldn't be anything too spoilerish in case you are wondering. But yeah, what exactly are we getting here? Two performance modes. So the gameplay is deploying FSR 2.1.2. So this is after dealing with the whole variable rate shading situation, and two modes. So we've got performance mode, which is kind of on by default. That is 1440p at 60 FPS. Then there's the quality mode, which is 4K 30 FPS with ray traced ambient occlusion. So yeah, when we turn that off there, you'll notice an increase, but an immediate drop in the visual fidelity of the game. I mean, it is a massive change, at least for me, in regards to seeing the visual difference. But it is quite an upgrade. Now, once again, like I said, this is using FSR, so that's a resolution upscaling technology. So the actual resolution is going to be a lot lower, but you won't notice the difference. So, full 4K 30, which again, I think looks really, really quality-like, but the actual internal count for what the actual, resolution is going to be a lot lower than that. Performance mode, again, 1440p, 60 FPS, but it's going to be a little bit lower than that, but pretty close. So yeah, that's kind of the different options. I think just leaving it with the default performance mode is kind of the way to go. It just feels a lot better. And it still looks incredibly good most of the time, I would say, And there is also film grain that you can turn off and motion blur if you're not into that sort of thing. Totally up to you. But yeah, just look how, instantly you can move around a lot better. Big change. There's also HDR support. There's spatial sound support. And yeah, I think that about covers it for the technical elements of this game. So basically just, upscaling visual technology that I think actually works really well for it, looks good, and plays well. So this is Dead Space Remake. It's a classic horror game, and it's back and looking better and playing better than it ever did. You play as this engineer who is trying to figure out what exactly is going on. You've been brought in to deal with this situation that requires someone of your particular talents and skill. And then once you get here, everything is kind of falling apart. You don't know what's going on. Your wife is stuck in the middle of everything too, and you're trying to figure out what's going on with her and, where she's at. All these people are dying. There's crazy things going on. There's these things called the Necromorphs, which are these monstrous, obscene things that are just absolutely out to kill you. Wow, I literally have no unlocks or anything at this point for this save. That's hilarious. Anyways, yeah, it's a mess in regards to you trying to survive. But this really is quite a well done remake. It makes me kind of sit there and be like, I think we should be remaking more games. I know that's an odd thing to say, and I know a lot of people have different thoughts on that aspect, but I'm kind of like, with the recent array of remakes we've seen, I'm kind of thinking this is a really good idea to kind of rebuild or upgrade or keep more nostalgic titles kind of going smooth and looking good, because I am really, really impressed with what they've been doing. Now, I'd also say that this is, while they call it a remake, it is actually more of a reimagining. They've taken the original game and they've thought of a different way to basically deliver it to you. So the first Dead Space, the original, again, 360 era way back in the day, that one was level based. So they reused areas, but it was level based. So you do it level by level by level. In this experience, it's seamless. So there's not loading unless you get cut up or destroyed by various things. But there's kind of a progression of sorts. It's linear, but also very much open. So the more you explore, the more you do in the ship, the more you see, the more you're able to visit different areas and revisit certain portions and open new spots and find new hidden secrets. It's really, really interesting how they've done that. I think they've done a wonderful job of upgrading that aspect. And just like, it really does kind of neatly display itself to you, especially when you first start, because you're seeing, certain things like, oh, there's this hallway, I can't get to this hallway. And then you come back, and, you're going down that hallway that you couldn't get to earlier. And it's utterly fascinating to see that progression. I think they did a great job doing that sort of thing with this game, kind of having that option. I was really, really, kind of impressed by that, seeing that being a thing in this, just kind of showing it off. I mean, the visual upgrade is actually quite nice between that. So yeah, that aspect's really, really cool. I think, though, like, if you've played this game, you're replaying the game. I mean, it's not like they've really changed things in regards to what happens. They have, played around with things. They have adjusted stuff. But it is that original Dead Space experience that I'm sure you're very much familiar with. They've also done some really neat things in regards to basically things that happen, events that go on, surprises, hidden secrets, things that jump out at you and stuff like that. They have actually adjusted that in some really interesting and intricate ways, so that, like, it kind of is fresh while you're playing. And I think that's a neat way to kind of keep things a little bit, kind of different and surprising, is that you're not really sure what is going to trigger stuff and what you're going to have to deal with as things are triggered while you're playing. And I think that is really, really quite neat and very, very cool. And you meet some, like, messed up things. So if you've never played this game before, I think you're really going to be in for a surprise. It is a classic horror game. It really is. I think, they've done a beautiful job of really just upgrading that experience and making it something that if you're playing this for the first time, I think you're going to be really pleasantly surprised by it and really enjoy the gameplay and the style of it, the atmosphere, the lighting. There's, like, cool smoke and fog effects. There's all these different, like, twists and turns in regards to, like, the narrative and what's going on. They really, really did a good job with this in many, many ways. Now, they have added a lot of these zero-G segments, and honestly, for the most part, didn't really enjoy them. Was not really a fan of the zero-G stuff. Kind of really honestly annoying most of the time, and sort of harder to control, and it's always, like, puzzle-based that you would have to do in regards to these things. And yeah, I can't say I really liked the zero-G stuff too much. It was kind of cool when you were in space, if that makes sense. Like, you would be able to, basically fly off in this really cool, quiet zero-G stuff. I mean, look at the smoke and stuff there, right? That's incredible looking. Sorry, it's just, the visuals are stunning. And I'm kind of sitting here being like, I really wonder what if someone, like, remakes this game again in, like, 10, 20 years from now, is this gonna look, like, silly? Because it's just, it really is that massive of an improvement in regards to, like, the visual quality of the world. They really nailed it, and the atmosphere and the terror and the scares, because it's, it's a spooky horror game. It's gonna jump out at you, it's gonna get you. And it also depends on how, like, well versed you are in regards to, like, knowing what you're doing or knowing what you're coming across. That's also going to factor into how scary things are too, right? I don't think it's too scary, but it's certainly, like, eerie, it's certainly unsettling. It's certainly something that's kind of like, watch your back, because you never know when something bad is going to happen, or when there's going to be a problem. Fired up to work? That's kind of funny. But yeah, it's really, really neat. There's lots of different character upgrades you can do, and there's some different suits. And anyways, let's get back to talking a little bit about the story. So yeah, it's got those moments of scares, but it's got, like, that neat progression. So like I mentioned, you open up new areas, you visit new things, you find new unsettling creatures and that you have to kill along the way. You've got action moments. You've got quiet moments. It's really, really interesting. And very, very different in regards to the style of gameplay that's present here. I think it will very pleasantly surprise you if you're jumping in fresh. But if you have done it, you know, it is a game you've played. But, you know, they've done some interesting changes as well. They've also added some extra things that add to the atmosphere of the world. You know, there's some side missions you can do. There's New Game Plus if you want to go at it a second time, you know, and have a little bit more of an intensity going on. It's really up to you and how you want to tackle it. And there's lots of characters in this game, too. I think that's something I actually forget. It's the Necromorphs are not very good at actually killing people, I gotta put it that way. But, like, you know, it's really, really quite interesting. Because, oh god, that is terrifying. You know, there's so many different individuals you kind of come across while you're doing the story. And that's something that I really did forget. Was just like, wow, there are so many cool characters, there's so many surprises. It's really, really interesting how it all sort of unravels and reveals itself to you over the course of the story. And you get to visit what is honestly like a really large ship. Like, there's a lot to this place, and it feels like more spatially realistic as a ship. Like, it feels like a ship that you actually progress through and kind of be like, wow, this is really massive and impressive. Oh, jeez. And it's got all these, like, little funny things going on, and, jeez. And all these really messed up scenes, and you kind of discover, hey, what's going on with these marker things? What's all this stuff? What is that? What's with these, like, gross areas? It's... Can I not shoot that? It's really, really quite different. And again, as a horror game, I think it kind of, like, excels gameplay-wise at offering so many different... Oh, you're still alive. Remember to stomp the bodies, guys. And it's kind of funny you get, like, more ammo and stuff by, you know, kind of stomping the enemies you kill and everything. Doesn't matter. But, okay. But I also love how you have sequences where you're not just, you know, kind of moving through it slowly. There's sequences where you gotta, like, run. You gotta evade. You gotta get out of here. Because there's a lot of bad things that are actually trying to constantly end your life, and that's really, really interesting. And the threats aren't just the monsters that have been unleashed, there's more going on than just that, too. And you'll always be surprised because you're not sure what the direction is that you're headed. Now, story-wise, I did kind of... Oh, jeez. I did kind of notice that it does get a little kind of cumbersome towards the end of the story, the latter half of it. And I say that... Oh, jeez. And I say that in regards to... Like, there's a lot of sort of follow this thing and move around this thing and get this thing here. And there's some, like, little tougher spots a little later on that get a little annoying to deal with. I need stasis. Is there a stasis machine near here? Sorry, one sec. We gotta find the thingy. Oh, a stasis pack. That's convenient. I shouldn't have wasted that, because there's literally a stasis machine right here. Too bad there's no health. But yeah, some of that gets a little annoying. The 0G part, some of the boss battles, there could have been like a couple more like better checkpoints at times, if that makes sense. Like, some of the checkpoints could be a little brutal. Make sure you save often, as that can get kind of annoying. But yeah, I think for the most part, it really is a compelling experience. And you know, there are different difficulty options too, if anything ever gets, you know, a little too intensive for you and stuff, and I think that's really good. So I think they did a good job with this upgrade. I think this sort of, you know, finely tunes a classic game for a brand new generation of gamers to enjoy it. Or if you're returning to it, I think you're going to have a lot of fun revisiting something that you very likely loved back in the day, because, I mean, otherwise I'm not sure why you would really be looking back at this, right? Other than, you know, kind of nostalgia, I guess? I don't know. But the idea is that you're going back to play this game for a reason. And I think you're going to be very satisfied with it if you are wanting something that feels, you know, familiar, but also does something a little bit new here or there just to keep it fresh. It's not radically different, it's not radically changed, but the way they've handled things within this game, I think really do sort of tell you that this approach was the correct way to sort of go at this. You know, they found a good rhythm for it, And it makes me really sit here and desire more Mass Effect. Just kidding. No, more Dead Space. It really does. It's sort of like, but the funny thing is the games are so similar. You know, kind of movement. Anyways, doesn't matter. I just was making a little thing. But yeah, I kind of sit here and I'm like, I really want like another chapter in this. I want to see more Dead Space. I think there's more for them to tell. I think there's more for this series to offer. And I'm really curious where they go next. You know, because obviously there's, you know, a couple really clear-cut paths that they can take. You know, will they do a similar remaking of Dead Space 2? Which is, you know, considered such a well-loved entry in the series. Will they leave that alone and perhaps go in a direction of, hey, let's make Dead Space 4? Will they maybe want to touch upon and redo Dead Space 3? I really don't know. That's the thing. But they do have options. They have lots of options. And, you know, those ones are just kind of the clear-cut ones. But I sit here and I sort of wonder, you know, what will they do? Because I think they got the right path started. And I'm just intrigued to see where it heads next. Because visually and aesthetically, they've really nailed it. You know, like, they really delivered something that feels so fresh and creepy and rewarding. Something that's got a bit of difficulty to it, but, you know, fairness as well. And it's just a really good game. And I think that's kind of what this did a good job of, is reminding us Dead Space was a really good game. You know, it's something that was enjoyed by many, and it's something that will continue to be enjoyed by many because of the efforts here to, you know, keep things up to date. And I think that's really important, that we see these sort of efforts for these beloved titles and seeing them get improved over time, just so that they do have, you know, the availability, they do have the style. There's still something interesting about that original, I think, Dead Space game that kind of would make it like something you would desire to try by itself. But this more than, I think, supersedes that original version, being true to its vision, being true to its style and its focus, but also, you know, switching things up a little bit. And I think that's important. Everything here, I'd say, is mostly an improvement. Just like I said, the Super G stuff, oh jeez, kind of bothered me a bit. But other than that, I had fun playing this. It was engaging. I'm going to die. I am definitely going to die. And I liked what they did with it. I think it really delivers on something like gruesome and unsettling. And that's what you want out of a horror title, is something that, like, you know, really delivers some scares, delivers some atmosphere, and just like the visuals, the vibrancy, the style of the game, an improvement in many ways. And I'm so intrigued to see the long-term results of like what this, you know, kind of brought on. Do we see similar games kind of like once again dive into this? Because you think Dead Space has, you know, sort of been dead for a while. And obviously this shows there is, you know, this can definitely exist as a really cool experience of gaming. And I'm so happy that we got this sort of thing. Just, you know, keep in mind, once again, like I said, it's a single player game, it's straightforward, and you play it, it's done. You can replay it with the New Game Plus if you want, but it's not like, you know, you're going to be doing much afterwards. It's got some side activities you can do within it, but, you know, the game does finish, it does conclude. So just, you know, keep that in mind gameplay-wise if you're expecting something, you know, sort of like limitless in that. It is something that is, you know, concise. It has a clear-cut, you know, narrative, a beginning and ending. And I actually kind of like that about games, that they don't, you know, go on forever sometimes. It's nice to have something that is, you know, you can sit there and you can play it and have a good time. But, you know, it's like several plus hours. It's fun. It's good gameplay. It's chilling at times. It's visually beautiful. It is a remarkable upgrade over something we've seen. And I think that's important. Taking something we love, improving upon it, bringing it back to an aesthetic that, you know, kind of made it such a stand-alone game back in the day that, you know, touched upon so many people. And I think they just really did a good job with it. And I can't wait to see what comes next, because this was great.
The ADS is offline. I've got the system readouts here. strikes can finish her off.